Hey everyone, I'm Jordan, and I like to do my book reviews, and I just finished Spare by Prince Harry. This one was so good, I had to give it a few more words that I wanted to type out. So, um, during this review, I'll be going through the book. I won't try to give out too many spoilers. Going and doing what he did and what he said is crazy. I would say the book's a 10 out of 10. um, I'm pretty sure we all have a little bit of dysfunction in our family. Uh, and airing that out a little bit is really interesting to figure out who Harry was named after and the history that he had in his lineage with the family. The book is broken up into three parts. Part one, um, Harry did a really good job of like explaining how the book was written. All of us don't remember situations the same, so he's just giving what he remembers from the situation. All the parts were good, but the part that was really, really good, uh, really, really juicy, part three. I was keeping like a running tab of like all the chapters that stuck out to me. I actually read the physical book and I listened on Audible, so like the chapters were like 2 minutes. They weren't really that bad, so there were a lot of them. Each section probably had about 87 chapters, but flew through it. The definition of spare. So I guess in British and royal families or whatever, the succession of the crown, they like for the men to have not only an heir, but a spare. So if anything happens to the heir, there is a backup still from that family. Like let's say that, well, he says, Harry says, if a kidney was needed or something like that, the spare would be called upon. Growing up with that title and like that just being a title that like everyone calls, I don't think people realized or really cared because they weren't a spare. How that really made a child feel. In some families, they say that the youngest child is the most loved, the most spoiled. So, it was just interesting, like having his take on really being like an outcast, really being a stepchild. It was interesting to hear him talk so much about Botswana and his connection there. Honestly, it's really surprising to me how many white people live there. Like, he's going over there and he's engaging with white people. So it makes me think about the history of the world and, who's really settled where and who controls what territory. I had to go look up the UK and where that was placed and seeing how small it is and seeing how many territories that they like controlled. And, they referenced Bermuda and Bar Barbados, so it's like, yikes, that little place has so much influence. Harry, Harry really, it seems like he was in the military because they didn't think he was that smart. They didn't think he was really capable of doing much, so they just kind of sent him that direction. And I say yes, they sent him that direction. He didn't get that special treatment. They really made him do the work. The special treatment came in the book. The special treatment came when it came to being in the field. They were like, yeah, we'll let him go through all the steps, but like, no, we're not going to actually um, put him out there. And that really bothered Harry because of all the time that he had really spent training and working uh, with these guys, his teams. Harry was big on honor. Harry was really big on legacy. See, Harry recounted the time where him and William went to go visit their mother's gravesite. And William said, he feels like mom is here. Mom is helping him with his family. Mom's helping him navigate life and find happiness. And Harry was like, yeah, me too. I feel her all the time. And, I feel like she was the one that brought Meg to me. And William was like, I wouldn't say all of that. One of the saddest stories to read uh, was when Harry was recounting a time where him, his mom, and William were in a car going somewhere, and mom was driving. Next thing you know, out of nowhere, she just kind of speeds up and starts hitting turns, kind of fast. And then at one point, she stops the car and gets out, and it's like, "Why don't you just leave us alone? I'm with my children, for Christ's sake." And she gets back in the car and just puts her head down and starts crying on the steering wheel. Um, that is a vivid memory for a child to have. And that sticks with him because there's nothing that you can do in that moment. Like I recount a time where we were in Alabama, and my father was driving his foreign car, and we got pulled over, and the police officer, called him a boy, and there being nothing that we could do about it. But having to deal with that. So being a helpless child, that leaves a mark on kids, and especially thinking about who caused that harm to their parent. So for me, it was what it was, and for Harry, it was the British media. Another running theme in the book would have to be silence goes a long way. Harry wasn't calling for somebody to, fire somebody or to hurt somebody. Harry just wanted someone to speak up. Why are they allowed to blow these things out of proportion? And if we know that they're false, why are we not asking them to retract the statement? Something that stood out. He talks about a time where him and Megan went out, and pictures were taken, which is fine or whatever. But the British media was ripping Megan apart for wearing ripped jeans, and the monarchy had approved all of Megan's outfits. So why are we? It shouldn't. That shouldn't have been something that they could do. If this gets me canceled already, like that's okay. It is what it is. But the running villain in this story, it really was Camilla. And if you really do your research on that lady, like it's wild. And the fact that she has gotten away with as much as she's gotten away with, like I'm recording a video. Two of the main people that stood out in the book that Prince Harry referenced. Paparazzi, Tweedledum, and Tweedledummer. These people were really, really good, I guess, at getting shots of them and knowing information about them. The ant, the bee, and the wasp. These are people that worked for his grandmother, and they controlled a lot of the moving pieces when it came to communication and things like that on behalf of the queen. Meg got depressed and thought about killing herself. Like that was so sad to read. She said, all this is happening because of me. So if I'm just not here, then like all this will go away. Like that's sad because it wasn't her. It like, but to push someone to feel that way, like that was sad. And then also to read, um, one of Prince Harry's ex girlfriends actually committed suicide like not too long ago. Nothing to do with Prince Harry. From what I read, she was in an assault case with her ex boyfriend, and the media getting involved and getting wind of that, she did not want to go through the public scrutiny of her case. And hearing how it went after their first date, like that is traumatizing. People not just showing up at your house, people showing up at your friend's house, people showing up at your friend's job, like at your cousin's job, at your mama's job. And it's like because they set up cameras on people's roofs to get inside footage, of their apartments. Like, it just seems like a constant state of terror. It was really sad to read how Harry went to his family for help, more specifically his dad and his brother, um, and how they really said their hands were tied and there were nothing that they could do. I'm not a parent or anything like that, but I am a sibling, like I am a sister, and if my sibling comes to me in pain, I want to do anything I can to help. Because if your family's not there to help you and support, then like what are they there to do? Um, so Tyler Perry definitely mentioned in the book when he talked about Tyler. Uh, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was he said, he did this because of his mom. Tyler Perry loved his mom, uh, and his mom loved Princess Diana because of a visit in Harlem. So that just makes you think, there's so much that's done because of things that we have not done. Good people are remembered. So he's getting more help from someone because of what his dead mother did than him being part of the royal family. T. So Harry wrote a note or a letter outlining to his dad the steps that he wanted to take to, take a step back from the responsibilities and like split the time between the UK and somewhere else. And it was only in that letter that it was referenced about him stepping away from his title. And at first, when I was reading this, I just thought it was another spoiled rich white man complaining about not being rich anymore. But this book was so much more than that. And I think him being a spare, him being seen as essentially disposable, gave him an outlook on life that his brother, the heir, and his father, the heir, could never see, um, because they were not exposed to that. So when Harry was able to sympathize with his girlfriend, who became his wife, that was just something that they couldn't even uh, fathom. I actually went and looked at the Daily Mail, the website that or the magazine that they referenced, and those articles are ridiculous. It's wild to think that people really go on there and get caught up. There's a lot of people in this world, and we don't even realize how much information and wrong information is getting out there. And Harry Wren mentioned the article, and it was like, oh, we expected the racism from the British or whatever, but what we didn't expect was the silence from Harry. And that was deep for me because his family kept telling him, "Oh, it'll blow over. Like, just let it go. Like, she just let it go." But what they were saying was so foul. It's still foul. As a loving husband, as a leader of your household, how do you how do you tell your wife? How do you tell your kids like just just keep your head down, this will blow over, and not go to bat uh, for your people? And I think that was a really big struggle for Harry. Harry wanted peace. He wanted to be happy. He wanted to be with the girl that he loved, raising kids and just a family. And they weren't trying to offer him peace. So he did what he had to do to go get his peace. Walking away from what he was walking away from. Castles in Scotland, going these places, doing that. It was to walk away from that hard. To hear Harry recount a time when he brought up Meg and like bringing her into the house, and his daddy said that he didn't have enough money for her to eat, like that's wild. That's wild. You had enough money for everybody else to eat, but not Meg. Harry never got over the fact that they saw his mother as disposable. After she gave them an heir and a spare, What other need did we have for them? Charles didn't like her. Charles was with Camilla anyway. So knowing that these people killed your mama, um, and I mean gave the green light to get your mother killed, like there has to be some thought in there. And you're probably like, oh Jordan, like how do you know or whatever? And I don't. It is a conspiracy, right? Like just like we don't believe, or some of y'all don't believe that like the government killed MLK. Um, that's just something that you're gonna have to deal with because I definitely think that they have something to do with that assassination. T, I don't know if y'all knew, but Princess Diana was messing around with somebody that had a little melanin in his skin color. Hearing how many people loved her around the world uh, was just astonishing because that's not the same reaction that you get from everybody else. And we want to take a little conspiracy there. Who knows? Maybe she would have outshone Queen Elizabeth, and that's why they really didn't want her there too. Camilla ain't done nothing. Overall, go buy the book, go support Harry because in turn we're supporting Meg, and Meghan needs our support. I get why Harry wrote the book. I'm happy that Harry wrote the book. I'm sure this got a lot of weight off of his shoulders, and I hope that they continue their healing process, whatever that looks like. He does reference a therapist and someone that he's working with. We should all do the same. He still has trauma from unspoken events that he really needs to work through to be the best father he can be, the best husband he can be, the best, brother he can be. So this is my first video review. Let me know what you think in the comments. Drop any book titles that you think might be good. And